Melanated family, what's going on? This is your brother Harrison, man. Brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Happy to be back for another week. How is the family doing? So let's get it popping, man. I'm excited. Today we're going to talk about who caused the destruction of the black family. Who or what? Was it the system? Was it the black man? Right? Was it the black man being shiftless? Was it the black man like not being focused, being shiftless, being crime ridden, being a criminal, a low life, right? Or did the black woman have something to do with it? Or like I said, was it just this volatile system that we live in? The reason why I'm bringing up this topic, just so you know, as we get going, I'm going to play a video. A sister by the name of Tammy Mack has a show. Can't remember the name of the show, but she has a show on Fox Soul, right? And the topic of the show, the topic of this particular show was, is there an attack on the black man, right? I found it interesting because, of course, we have on the clip I'm going to play, we got Dr. Umar Johnson on the clip speaking, a brother named Dewan, a black woman named Cynthia G, and another black woman named Hope, I think it is, right? But the reason why I think this is important because, yes, it's always beneficial to have dialogue about our problems, include some solutions in there, but it's always good to have dialogue about our problems. But when we see niggas in our community, black men and women, I'm calling anybody a nigga who obviously has something negative or has some ill intent towards our community, right? Because again, we understand how racism, racist white folks, the institutions that have been created, a lot of these things aim to disenfranchise us, right? But like I always talk about, there are Negroes who aim to disenfranchise us too. There are Negroes who are going to parrot the same sentiments as people outside of our community. So black man or woman, we got a lot of individuals in our community that we need to be like on the lookout for. Like we have to decide, how are we going to handle these individuals? If we know there's a person who's basically cooning, which my definition of cooning is knowingly or unknowingly doing something that undermines the entire black society, right? This can be somebody on TV. This can be a political pundit on TV. This could even be a brother in the hood killing other black people. All this is cooning to me. If you do something that negatively affects black folks or potentially can negatively affect all of us as a whole, that's cooning. You see what I'm saying? So on this video, I'm going to show you it's these black women are pretty much taking a stance that I'm not clear on. Like, I don't understand. When we talk about our problems in our community, there's a lot of ways you can go with it as far as who's responsible. Of course, I'm going to state my opinion of, like I've done several times on this show, about who I think is responsible for our downfall. But there is a lot of moving pieces. You know what I mean? You have to be contextual about it. Two things can be true at the same time. You feel me? So we're going to play a little bit of this video. I'm going to give my input as the video continues. Also, I did a video yesterday about the fact that I'm looking for new individuals to interview on the show. So if you know a inspiring individual in your community, somebody that you are witnessing that has a goal or a platform that you think can be beneficial to all of us, right? Like if people are just newly starting on whatever their endeavor is, I respect that. But as far as my show is concerned at this point, I want people who are a little more experienced, people who are knee deep in whatever their field of study is, right? Just so we can bring more professionalism, just so we can bring, well, not more professionalism. I haven't had anyone unprofessional, but just so we can bring more clarity, we can bring more experience, more knowledge, right? Because what I'm doing, my platform and just the evolution of how I got to where I'm at today, it's been hard work, but it's been hard work and a lot of dedication. So as far as people that I invite on my platform, I want to make sure they are within that same vein. Like they're committed and knowledgeable about whatever it is they're doing. I think that just makes for a better fit. You know what I mean? So if you know anybody who you think will be a good fit for the show, again, entertainer, author, politician, anybody in our community that does a good job of inspiring people, or their mission in life is just inspiring. It can even be a father or a Black mother who didn't been through a lot of shit with the system or with the man they were with, and they have a story that can be used to benefit all of us. I'm with that. You know what I mean? So let's get it popping again. Thank you for joining another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Hit the like button, share button, tell a friend, all that good shit. If you haven't subscribed to the Melanated Convo on YouTube, you plan, go to the YouTube page right now, subscribe, become a member of the family. Let's get it popping. So what I'm going to do right now, y'all, is I'm going to play clips of this show, and we are going to dissect this conversation about, because I think the question that's going to be asked as soon as I cut the show on, just to give you some context, is there an attack on the Black man in this country? So let's get into it. Hold on 1 second, family. Make sure I get all my.
You're not being honest.
Find the clip. We don't have to argue about it. We don't have to argue about it.
You just admitted to it. We don't need a
60 seconds against Black men. First of all, I want to see where you all stand just by a yes or no. Dr. Umar, is there? Yes or no?
Absolutely, yes.
Hope, is there?
No.
Dwan?
Absolutely, yes.
Cynthia G, where are you on this?
The only war is the war that Black men are waging against the Black community.
So is that?
Like I said, I'm going to be in and out, giving my opinions. Now, so one thing that again, I don't mind when Black people get on any kind of platform and have a integral conversation about our problems, what we've been through, how we can manifest like a greater future. I'm with all that. But what I don't appreciate and what I'm never going to accept is bad faith arguments. Like intellectually dishonest arguments bother me, and it makes me untrustworthy of the person that I'm looking at. Because again, the question Tammy Mack just asked is there a war against Black men in America? Look, I don't mind people disseminating views about some of this shit, but you have to be honest. Like you can say, again, two things can be right at the same time. You can say, yes, it is, but hey, the Black man needs to step up. Like there's ways to frame an argument. There's ways to frame an argument or discussion. So whenever I see someone who I deem as being intellectually dishonest, it's a little bit alarming, right? So let's get into their conversation.
At a yes or no?
Yes, there is.
Well, there's a couple things. Number one, we have to make sure that we conduct a systems analysis and an institutional assessment. Communities are made up of institutions or the lack thereof. Communities are governed by systems or the lack thereof. Let us be very clear about something. This fratricide, this Black on Black crime that so many of our brothers are engaging in, let us remember, Irish did the same thing. Italians did the same thing. European Jews did the same thing. And in the 1930s and 1940s, the United States government decided to upgrade them to white status, and in so doing, gave the Italians control of the fire departments in the Black community, gave the Irish control of the police departments in the Black community, and gave the European Jewish immigrants control of the civil service municipal jobs that they still control in many city centers today. The point that I'm making, Tammy, is that America gave Southern European immigrants an economic stimulus package. Before they gave that economic stimulus package to Jews, Irish, and Italians, they were doing the exact same thing Black men are doing today, selling drugs, breaking the law, running in gangs, killing one another. But the government intervened and aided them. The reason Black male pathology is still
okay. Hold on 1 second, family. Like I said, I'm gonna keep going in and out of the video to give my thoughts and opinions. And this is alarming to me because what he just stated is nothing more than the facts of our history. So again, when I see people presenting arguments, because as I move forward, you'll see, like, I have nothing against Cynthia G and the Sister Hope. I don't, and just to be clear, Cynthia G has been on YouTube for a while. I've witnessed her interaction with other people, and just from my opinion, right, it doesn't seem like the sister like Black folks. don't seem like she really rock with black men like that. Now, it can be a personal issue she got with black men. It can be some shit she doing just to get popping on YouTube, whatever the case may be. But it doesn't seem like she has our best interests in mind when it comes to how she speaks. Because again, you cannot agree with something a black man or a woman is doing as a community, right? As we have these conversations. But how you present your argument is all that matters. Like presenting it with angst and so much negativity, it almost seems like this ain't a unity conversation. This shit is about something else. So I'm gonna get into the conversation, but what Dr. Umar was just saying about how other immigrant groups have basically came to this country and the government gave them a leg up by either making them white, by either creating systems and putting systems in place to help them specifically. So this is undebatable, right? Like, am I tripping? What he just mentioned is undebatable. So what I would need, a woman or a man who's debating what he's saying, I need you to debate his actual points. Because yes, the immigrant groups that came to this country all have been given a leg up, whether it's Irish, European Jews, all these different groups of people have been given resources and set asides to make sure they're okay to a degree. Name one other group of people who've been attacked by the government like black people. Name them. What group of people has been strategically attacked by America since they came here, right? When has there been an African American, a black, whatever you want to call us? When has there been a stimulus package for us, a set of legislation or rules or set-asides or anything that was primarily designed to get us out of the situation we're in, right? So all this has to be thought about. So when I look at a black person presenting an argument that leaves these things out, I become untrustworthy of them. You feel me? So let me let y'all listen to more of this. Let's get it
later
going,
is there has been no resolution, there have been no solutions, and there have been no governmental intervention. With that being said, I'm not waiting on the government to solve the problems of black men. We as black men have to unite, come together, organize, and solve our own problems. Just because we can admit that the government introduced pathology into the black community, we can still take full responsibility for ending it ourselves.
Hope, I see you nodding.
Yes, because I feel like when you can name all of these things so eloquently and so beautifully, and yet y'all still fail at being able to do these things after years and years and years and years and years of trying, where do we find
it here? Every time I hear some bullshit, pretty much. So, Dr. Umar mentioned some of the things we've been through. He just basically said the government gave other groups of immigrants and people who were new here a leg up. And this lady, no disrespect, Hope, whatever the fuck your name is, your response is, well, what did y'all do about it? Like, again, bad faith argument, intellectually dishonest conversations. What are you actually talking about? Everybody knows how we got to the position we're in, right? I'm going to get more into this as we have the conversation, but decade by decade, there's been strategic, institutionalized legislation, laws, things that have been implemented to make sure we are in the position we're in now. Now, like Dr. Umar Johnson just said, of course, we should be striving for unity. We should take white supremacy and everything that's happened to us, frame it in how it's been happening in the history of it, then learn how to move forward and maneuver around that shit. That's exactly where we should be. But to deny that we've been treated completely different than any other group of people that are here in this country is, again, intellectually dishonest. So she's asking him, what has black men done to combat this system? That's nonsensical. Like, what are we talking about? When we go to the 60s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, the Black Power movement, the Black Panthers, all the civil rights leaders, you know how many black men have died in the name of trying to help your black ass? Hope. You know what I mean? So let's get into a little more of the conversation, man. But I don't trust black folks who talk like this. You feel me? So let's get into it.
find a new solution? war that we're fighting for Black men is the one that Black men are fighting within themselves. Is it about adjacency to whiteness? Is it about being able to assimilate to that white hand? Or is it really about the freedom of Black men and the Black family and the Black community? They want to assimilate to whatever whiteness, whatever white male privilege they get. And that's a large part of the problem.
Dr. Umar, you welcomed us to the show by saying Black Power, Black Power.
Okay, so we like, do we all know the basic premise of having a constructive dialogue with another person? Do we understand that if I'm fighting with let's take it out of this context. Let's say I'm fighting with my woman, a good friend of mine, like, right? I'm having some sort of disagreement or misunderstanding with a friend of mine, right? A friend of mine, my woman even. Do we know that playing the blame game is the easiest way to halt any dialogue, the easiest way to continue any type of miscommunication you was having? Now it's going to get worse. Because again, if I'm looking at Black men and Black women, again, y'all, everybody who's just joining me, I'm playing a video from a sister named Tammy Mack who has a show on Fox Soul. They're having a discussion about, is there an attack on the Black man in America? It's Dr. Umar Johnson, this brother named Darrell, that's Cynthia G, that's a sister named Hope. And they're having, the women in this dialogue is having a bad faith argument. Because when you look at everything that's happened to us in this country, you can point to shit Black women, because she just mentioned Black men assimilating in the white society. Yeah, a lot of Black men did, right? We got coons. We got Black men who think white ice is colder. We got Black men who was chasing white women. We got Black men who just felt a seat at the table on some meritorious manumission shit. A seat at the white table was more comfortable. But we got Black women who did the same thing. You see what I'm saying? So again, bad faith argument. I'll give you some examples in a minute of how both Black men and women have played a small part or bigger part, whatever you want to say, in the unraveling of the structure of our family. You know what I mean? So let's get into it.
Okay. Is there some truth to the assimilation that Black men want or perceive to want when it comes to this war being waged against you?
Well, there's definitely some truth to it, but I think that truth is also evident in Black women. Black men, many of them may choose to want a white woman, but many Black women choose to look like white women. So we have to look at ourselves and we have to recognize that the pathology is not more of one gender than the other. That's the issue I have with conversations that seek to see who is more at fault, the Black man or the Black woman. It's not about who's more at fault. We rise together or we will perish together. The Black man cannot survive without his woman, and the Black woman cannot survive without her man. And the issue that I take with my two sisters' narrative is I hear a lot of criticism. I hear a lot of condemnation, but I don't hear any empowerment. I don't hear any solutions coming from either one of them. It appears as if that there is a hatred towards Black men by those sisters. Even when they said, why are we going back to 1960? Let's stay in 2022. That is so immature and irresponsible of a statement.
So like I was just saying, so the point he's making to me is completely that, look, family, all these different platforms available to us today, all these different spaces for Black folks to talk, for people to talk, I'm good with it. Like I watch a lot of shows on YouTube, like a lot of us, I'm engulfed in a lot of this shit. But if we go and talk about the problems of Black men and Black women, being Black people, that shit has to be rooted in love. Like if you're going to get to a resolution, if you're going to get to a position where you agree on something or you agree to disagree, but agree to unify and come together, that shit has to start with love. If I hear any Black person, right, who has a platform and the basis of your platform is going at a Black woman or going at a Black man, non-constructively, right? Because the brother Kevin Samuels used to get a lot of shit about how he spoke with Black women, but I didn't have a problem with his narrative because we got to be contextual. Kevin Samuels was talking to women. He wasn't in a position where he was just running off at them off about what he think about women. No, he's asking them questions. He's talking to them, giving them advice. based on his perspective. And to me, it's never any it was never malicious. It sometimes harsh, sometimes to the point, but never malicious. Never just fuck black women, y'all not gonna be nothing, y'all the reason. No, if like these sisters, right? If they want to come to a discussion and talk about what we're not doing, come with facts, not feeling. Come with facts and statistics and things that have happened. Then we can have a productive dialogue. Like I said, this is, I don't trust this banter. Like this is, they're not being contextual. They're being intellectually dishonest, is what I say. You know what I mean? So let's continue to listen to it.
Statement. As a psychologist, when a client comes into my office, the first thing I perform is a history on their depression, a history on their suicide, a history on their anxiety. When you go see the medical doctor, he performs a history. When you go buy a home, they perform a history. When you go purchase an automobile, they perform a history on that automobile. But when we talk about the problems that affect Black males, we're supposed to look at it in a vacuum. We're not supposed to put it in a historical context. And with that being said, the language and the narrative that's coming out of the mouth of these two Black women is one that I think the white power structure would endorse, because it totally absolves them of any responsibility for the hell Black men catch in this country.
Cynthia G, you did say, why are we going all the way back to 1960? There is some truth to history when it comes to evaluating anything or anyone. So what do you say to that?
I say we should go to the historical context, because what I have not heard from Dr. Umar Johnson, or I think his name is Duane, Duane is what I have not heard as they're mentioning all of the things that was done to them. I haven't heard what you did in response to it. So I would like to know, what did you do in response in history of the
Cynthia G, again, I've heard about this sister. Never quite. I've seen small things she's done here and there, but she got her fucking nerve, man. To come out and basically say, what have we done? If we look at the 50s, the 60s, 70s on up, look how many Black people throughout our history have struggled for civil rights, have struggled for our liberation. So Dr. Umar just eloquently put his disdain for what he see from them. And she basically comes back with, tell me, what have we done? Family, we're a part of a system that's continually colonized us. Yes, we've had moments where we've came together. Think about the 60s. Them brothers was riding. The Black Panthers was a model, an actual model for how to get us out of this situation, right? Right? They had a gun, wasn't scared to use it, had the knowledge. This is a beautiful setup, right? What happened? Like, for her to take this approach, I gotta say, I don't trust Black folks like this, man. This is ultimately intellectually dishonest. So look, when we look at the 60s, the Black Panther Party, civil rights movement, look at all the brothers that was a part of those movements. Most of them are dead, right? Right? So yeah, the system put fear into our communities, right? They put the COINTELPRO on our communities. What other group of people has the government created a specific part of legislation just to police their ass? That's what COINTELPRO was, family. This is a specific piece of the government made just to disenfranchise us. In J. Edgar Hoover's gay ass, right? He was behind the whole thing. We can't name another group of people, immigrants, people that are new here, whoever, that's had to endure this type of attack at the hands of the American government. So again, this is a bad faith argument these women are having, and it makes me hard to trust them. Like, are we doing this for YouTube money? Are we doing this because we just hate ourselves? And Cynthia G has the nerve. I'm happy. Her picture is up on the screen right now. She has the nerve to talk about the plight of the Black man. She talked about how we've assimilated in the white society. Sis, look at your fucking hair. This is this is Eurocentric at its best. Look at the bundle. This is Eurocentric at its best. So how dare you tell me that I'm want to be like a white man when you look like a white woman? See, this shows all of us have had a bout with how do I conduct myself in this system, right? Being black, we understand that we don't have money, we don't have resources. Well, some of us will say, look, they got the money over there. They got the resources over there. So I'm going to side with them when it comes to my perspective on black society. I'm going to side with them when it comes to how I'm going to maneuver in this world. So just like the pot calling the kettle black, how can you fix your mouth to talk shit about how what we're not doing as a black man when you're propagating the same shit white supremacists propagate? Because again, you can have this conversation about what you think black men and black women could do better to improve our stake in this land. Yes, we can have that conversation. But when you play the blame game, where do you end up? If we steadily pointing the finger at each other, especially when you're having bad faith arguments, because I haven't heard either one of these women contextualize something in detail that the black man has done to negatively affect themselves or our community. So let's listen to a little more, family.
Then go to the Supreme Court and petition to have access to the men's women that you're complaining and accusing of disenfranchising.
Wait. So I want to talk about that real quick. Wait. Because again, I've heard about Cynthia G. I've listened to a little bit of what she do. I gave her a clean slate for this conversation. Okay, this is about black men. Maybe this woman is going to come with some fire. Maybe she's going to say something that makes me think, would like have a great sharp perspective. So after all this talking, you mean to tell me she gonna say how we've negatively affected our community is because we want white women? Really? You gonna simplify it there? So, but yes, there were men in the 60s, I've read about this, who felt like getting back at the white man was fucking a woman, but black women was doing the same shit, right? Right? And looking at her, again, no, looking at her in her Caribbean fucking weave bundle, right? That's Eurocentric, family. Look at her hair. That's not African. None of our mama's hair looked like that. So how dare you? Who are you after? Who are you chasing? Like my nigga Tariq say, this is bad wench behavior. Huh? If I don't know her history or her dating history or none of that, but I wouldn't be surprised if she had a white woman or I'm sorry, if she had a white man. You see what I'm saying? Because do we ever see, think about this for a minute, family. Do we ever see other races of people grandstand on not liking their counterpart, right? We know white women do it in the feminism narrative, but do you ever see white women get on a platform and say white men ain't shit? Mexican women do it, right? Asian women do it. This is some shit. This is black. This is hating. This is self-hatred. This is what she's going through. Right. So we're going to continue to listen to a little bit of it, but I'm not above hearing a critique about me as a black man and being critically thinking about it. Like, okay, is there some truth in that? Can we dissect that a little more? That's not what I'm hearing from them. So that's why I'm wondering, is this some YouTube shit? Like, are they doing this strictly because they get money on YouTube? Do they work for an organization? Are they in some type of, is this some type of agent provocateur environment? You know what I mean? Because COINTELPRO, in that type of governmental institutional problem that faced us, that's gone in a way, but there are other forms that the government do that even still to today. You know what I mean? So let's listen to a little more of this. Yeah, you're right, Coaches. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So that's why I don't know if this is for like money, because again, if you get on YouTube, just so everybody know, if you get on YouTube or any of these platforms being black and you speak down on black people, man or woman, you're going to get a lot of clicks and views. There's a lot of white supremacists. There's a lot of white folks who don't like us. There's a lot of self-hating Negroes who like to hear detrimental information about us, who like to hear negative shit about us. So I don't know if that's her angle, but we can't trust individuals like this, family. Like we have to, and I struggle with that sometimes. Like, how do we get rid of coons? Let's talk about that real quick. How do we rid ourselves of the individuals that negatively affect all of us? Now, you can go drastic. See, like Haiti, 1804, They won a war against French, against different white armies. They won that war, right? One of the biggest reasons why this all black army, these African men were able to win this war is because before they went to war with the white armies, they had to deal with the in-house problems. Before they went to war, they got rid of all the coons. Literally. Before they start fighting, they said, no. We got to find all them niggas who be snitching. All them niggas that's right in the middle, we got to find them and get rid of them first, right? Because again, throughout our history, hundreds upon hundreds of slave revolts were attempted during slavery. Many people don't talk about that. Hundreds upon hundreds, right? Do you know why all of them didn't work? Not one or two. There was never any other reason. The reason why all of them didn't work is because some nigga went inside the house and said, boss, I know what they doing. I know what they got planning tonight. Meritorious manumission. Meritorious manumission was a law in the 1800s that basically said, if you give us information about somebody that's going to run away, somebody that's planning something nefarious, you will get freedom. Some of you will get freedom. Some of you will get trinkets like butter biscuits and things to eat. Yeah, you heard me. A biscuit. Some of them would get just a hot biscuit and a steak in the house, and they would tell on everybody. So when I see black people like this who aren't creating good faith arguments about our struggle, it reminds me of a meritorious manumission. Like, who are you actually working for? Like, who sent your ass? You know what I mean? Let's continue to listen to a little more of this family.
In the 1960s, what black men were really doing, and it's been documented, many civil rights leaders have admitted to it, what black men were doing is chasing the white man's woman, trying to so-called stick it to him by way of going to their women. What you should have been doing is trying to get liberation for yourself. What you should have been trying to do is get that foot off your neck. But see, the foot is not on your neck. And the only time you recognize it being on your neck is when you want to get away with doing something that you think white men are getting away with doing. Because let's just be real. Whenever we hear about this war against black men, it's usually being brought up when there's a black man like R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. We see Trey Songz going through it, Ari Spears, when they engage in some degeneracy, and then they're getting a consequence for it. And black men think that because they perceive white men to be getting away with crimes, they want to be able to get away with crimes as well.
Yeah, another opportunity to shed light on her point. Not make us agree, but give us some perspective on what she's thinking. That was all bullshit she just said. That was all bullshit that she just said. To say that we done nothing as black men, that our primary goal is just to date white women, to be able to do what white men do. I just want to be left the fuck alone. It's not about doing what white men do. What does that got to do with the prison industrial complex? What does that got to do with black men being locked up 5-1? 48% of 50-something% of the people in jail is black or Latino. What does that got to do with that? What is she talking about? What does that got to do with our schools being underfunded? Right? What does that got to do with us being literally scared of the fucking police? I'm 42 years old, no real criminal record, no nothing. We had a man to use extreme examples. That's bad, right? Having doing what he did to an underage girl, I do have a problem with that, right? But the system Okay, there we go. There we go. Sorry about that, family. Sorry about that, family. So using an example, like you have to break down, you have to be more contextual about all of these situations specifically. Because we saw R. Kelly, yes, the brother could have did some things that people don't agree with, like I don't agree with to a degree, but to say 30 years, right? To give this brother 30 years, when I just seen a story about how Brent Favre, a white millionaire, was able to rob poor people in Mississippi. Do we think he's going to get jail time? Do you think he's going to get villainized? Like, look at just the difference between how we're treated as people in this country. Stop the bullshit, man. Bill Cosby too. Like, again, drugging women. If any of this is true, of course we understand how this is bad behavior. But 40 years later, after we're looking at a man who was trying to buy a station, who was trying to acquire power, like there's context to all of these situations. So the fact that she's going to point out that, again, she's continuing the bad faith argument. You see what I'm saying? So let's watch a little bit more of this, family. Hold on one second. Let me reboot everything. But this is something we got to think about. Because, again, I don't mind Black people having conversations, intellectual conversations about how we got in the position we're in today. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if we're going to do that, we got to be honest. Like we got to remove like ulterior motives. When I hear an adult, these are adult women talking like this, only thing I can think of, what's your motive? Shit, who hired you? You know what I mean? So let's continue watching a little more of this, family.
The reality is Dr. Umar can sit up here and list all the different ways that the system is disenfranchising Black men and black men in a victim vote. But the reality is what he cannot tell you is what Black men did in response to it, because they did nothing. They laid down and they nested under the skirt of their non-Black preferences, and only to complain that whenever they commit a crime, they're not getting off like they did.
So let's find out. Dr. Umar, what have Black men done?
Well, number one, again, I think that it is such a shame coming from a psychological perspective that we seek to heal our wounds as a people by relying on unprofessional testimony by individuals who have a vendetta against the opposite gender in their community. When you hear Sister Cynthia speak, you can hear a hurt and a pain and a hatred towards Black men. We cannot find an effective solution to Black male-female relationship issues or the oppression of Black men or Black women when the people at the table having the conversation have negative emotional and pathological interests in the conversation that are not.
Umar, the question wasn't about my emotional state. The question was, what did Black men do in response to their disenfranchisement? Yeah, because you're trying to pathologize my emotional state, not knowing that I'm a psychologist too. But what you're not doing is telling us what Black men did.
I believe he'll get there, Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar.
And I'll end it quickly, Sister Tammy. According to Mrs. Cynthia G., Dr. King was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Malcolm X was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Medgar Evers was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Fred Hampton was assassinated because he was doing nothing. That narrative that Black men have done nothing to fight back against systemic oppression, not only against ourselves, but against our women, our children, our elders, and our community is absolutely ridiculous. The cemetery is filled with Black men, names we know and names we don't know, who gave their life for the freedom, liberation, and emancipation of African people. How can you disrespect the history of so many Black men, past and present, who continue to fight? I'm sitting in a school right now that we built with all Black money, 4 buildings that we're going to educate Black men in. It's not easy to solve our problems because there's always Black people in your very same community who's fighting against what you're trying to do to help it. But in addition to that, the white power structure is always waving its wand of oppression to try to sabotage anything we do. I think that the analysis of our women is too overly simplistic, and in being such, it is dishonest.
They've done so much. You've only listed names and not accomplishments, though.
What is that? What is that? What hold on one second, y'all. What did she just say? Like, he just eloquently stated again all facts. In the 60s and 70s, thousands of black men died trying to liberate us. Now, of course, they was going against a wicked system, and they didn't have the resources, the manpower, or the know-how at times to combat what they were facing. Sure, we live in a white fucking world, right? But to look at all of the individuals he just mentioned, and your comment is, what did they do? They tried to liberate black people. They was just dealing with a vicious ass white man who used the gun more than he used logic, right? We African. We want to bring you to get some food. We want to bring you to the water. We want to help you out. We want to uplift you. They're savage and cunning and Neanderthal-like. What the fuck are we talking about? Right? We faced a demon. That's why we end up in the position we in. We faced a demon, and then we got black folks like this. Because if they were alive in the 60s and 70s, they would have been snitches for COINTELPRO, right? They would have worked with the government to undermine us. So if Cynthia G's asking, what have we done? Well, we've been undermined by our own kind at every turn, like she's doing right now. So I'm like, wait. Sometimes I'll be watching shit thinking, are they joking? Am I tripping? Like, do I need to do more research on this person or talk to them directly to understand what the fuck they talking about? We too old to speak like this, right? So if you're asking the question, what did black men do to liberate us? We tried our hardest, but we weren't willing to kill people. You want to go there? We was dealing with a beast who was going to do anything to keep us below him, including kill us. So you're right, Cynthia G. In the 60s, excuse me, family, in the 60s, when we were trying to liberate ourselves, we were trying to move the needle, right? The government start killing us. And you're right, some men who was probably doing what they can to be a part of the movement, once they seen black men dying, they probably was like, okay, I'm good. I'll assimilate. So you're right. They used violence. They used violence and institutionalized racism to keep us in our place. This happened to everybody, though, right? When the Irish got here, right? Irish Italians, when they got to this country, they were in the slums. They were the niggas of their time, right? The government gave them a leg up. The government came in and say, hey, I'm sorry, wash your ass up. Now you're white. Now you're a part of what we do. You see what I'm saying? When have we got any kind of stimulus package? Name the time black people got something specifically for black people. Money, resources, land. Besides getting lied to and criminalized, what have we gotten from this system? Right? So I expect somebody white to be online or to be on a platform speaking like this about us. But somebody black, she's speaking to the question she's asking. She's the reason. You know what I mean? Watch a little more of this, y'all, then we'll get going. Let me see.
Since the 60s, we've turned around and we've gotten, we're still inventing things. We still open up businesses. Here in LA, you got black businesses all around town. So when black men do build things and we build things on individual basis, you're not going to see an NBC special about what the great black man built. When Irv Gotti, Suge Knight, and J. Prince tried to put together a distribution, they all got charges the next week. So it's not like we don't build things. When we do build things, something always ends up seeming to happening. And in spite of that, you've seen the most black business male ownership that's gone up in the last 60 years since the coronavirus. We still doing it. I personally got 3 businesses, so I don't know what you're talking about. I employ young black men. I've helped thousands of black children here in South Central LA. So all this black men ain't doing nothing. Where are you kicking it at?
So
But here's
how
the
are
one
you?
thing,
So
too.
how
Here's
are
the
black
one
men
thing, too.
creating
let
all
me
these
get, hold that
businesses
thought.
and still
Hold that
costing the
thought. I want
government
to get
50 billion a
Cindy and
year?
G. Hold that
Here's
thought.
the
I want to
one
get.
thing that is
I want to
being
get Hope in
ignored.
here real quick, Dr. Umar. I want to get Hope in here because Dr. Umar listed a plethora of black men that we know, and I'm assuming he listed the ones that we know so that we can identify and all agree that these black men have done something in terms of the fight for equality in America. How do you feel about those men that he listed, Hope? Have they done anything for the black community or not?
Most definitely, I would be ignorant to say that they haven't, right? But I think that what we're failing to realize is that when we have this conversation about what Black men have done, the consequences are usually because of white supremacy and the gaze of white folks on us are that the Black men are then taken away and the Black women have to then sustain those things. Dr. Umar, you're right. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that you said, but you're absolutely right. It's not about the idea of who's doing it better or trying to, the pissing match of the oppression Olympus amongst Black people, but it's really about working together. The problem is what I find in working together is that the Black man wants to lead, whether he's acquired the gumption and the knowledge to be able to do so appropriately and effectively or not. The thing about it is when you're working together, we are a team. You get to lead this portion because you're better at it. I get to lead that portion because I'm better at it. And then we come to a common ground for both of us to succeed. But a lot of the times when we're talking about these succession plans and we're making all of these advocacy movements in order to progress the Black family, the Black man says, listen to me or fail. Right? As if Black women have nothing to contribute to that. And I think that that's where the problem is. That's where the discourse needs to happen is how do we work together so that Black men understand that we are meant to work side by side and not with me following you with my head down and saying, yes, that's our master. Because that is me being subservient to you in a way that I might not want to do, especially considering if you do not have the credentials, the know-how, the wherewithal, or the lived experiences to lead me in a way that I might be better suited to do in this point of our journey. And
So in actuality, I'm not gonna lie. I like what that sister just said. That was 100 right there. Now, do I think all Black men are looking to lead a woman down a path of destruction, whether they have the tools to do so or not? Not quite. But there's some truth to that statement, right? And I can talk like that. Like I can have that type of conversation where you're not being so dismissive or the language you're using doesn't seem to be like hate based. What she just said made sense. I can understand a woman feeling like that. Like being a man myself that have had some of these problems, that makes sense. Like if we are, and I think that how she framed it is kind of on something different. We're not quite talking about that, but yeah, I think there are men who aren't in a position financially or mentally or spiritually to lead a family, and they still attempt to, or they fail at it, or they have issues with it. I can understand that. Like I'm not like a male chauvinist type of character where a woman has to walk with her head down and just be at home barefoot taking care of the kids. I don't believe in any of that shit, but there are men that do. But when we're talking about Black men and Black women, the Black man has been demasculated in this country, and sometimes Black women want us to act like white men. They want us to fit into this systematic structure that's been given to us by our oppressor. And sometimes the Black man don't add up to what people think he should be because of what he had to go through, right? Because of being like the ultimate target for a lot of this shit on a day-to-day basis can be draining. So a lot of men turn to crime. A lot of men turn to just trying to have sex and fucking their way out of their problems. Like men deal with their issues in different ways. And some of these things are issues that all people in this country face, like every man, depending on your race. But the problem is, like I was saying a little bit earlier, none of these other men have to deal with the system constantly attacking them, attacking their children in school, attacking their Black body when it comes to police interactions and things of this nature. When we look at how we're criminalized in our so Black men, we have to create the caveat based on how we're treated, based on the differences, right? Because whenever we get a leg up, think about it, just like Dewan just said, even though we've been through all these different things, we still excel. We still end up being the best at whatever endeavor it may be. If you put us on an equal playing field with any other group of people, more than likely we'll end up on top. Right? So that's an empowering way to think about this situation. Looking at how, especially Cynthia G, looking at how she's approaching this topic, it don't seem like she liked black men that much. And again, I was talking about meritorious manumission earlier. This is somebody that we got to look out for. What this Sister Hope just said, I can have a conversation when it's based like that. You know what I mean? Watch a little bit more of this before we go, family.
Omar.
Well, first of all, I do not endorse any kind of a second-class citizenship role for Black women. I believe Black women have as much to offer as do Black men. So I'm not sure who the Queen is referring to, because I am not a misogynist and I do not support that type of narrative that said the Black woman's position is only to have children and to prepare food. But at the same time, I think Black women have to look at themselves, because although white supremacy has been the greatest enemy of the progress of Black men, you would also have to argue that Black women have probably been the greatest accomplice to supporting the white power structure in their destruction of Black males, i.e. the conversation we're having right now, where two intelligent Black women have yet to indict white supremacy for the role that they play in the destabilization of the lives of Black men.
Is white supremacy responsible for any of the Black man's plight at all?
Absolutely, it exists. And Black men have worked in tandem with white supremacy since they've become in contact with it. And this is why I say in the Black community, we have very disingenuous, very dishonest.
Just going back to our history, like to the early 1900s, right? You can say that there's been times where Black men, because we think white ice is colder, because we want to assimilate and pretty much have a fear based on how we've been treated, based on the overt racism that can be violent at times. Yes, there's been a lot of Black men who've assimilated, who've pretty much said, I'm scared, I don't want no parts of this shit. That's true. But the problem is, again, to make that argument solely while pointing the finger, like I was saying earlier, that's not going to get us somewhere, because if we look at this system, Black women have played a role in a lot of our issues as well. And I'll shoot them a little bell by saying some of them may not have known what they were getting into. Some of them were fully aware of it, right? Because when we look at, like Cynthia G is talking about, she don't want to talk about the 60s and 70s. Look, the feminist movement of the 50s and 60s that a lot of Black women partook in. This is a movement. This is a problem that white women had with a white man. That feminist shit had nothing to do with Black women. It's kind of an oxymoron. Black men and Black women, the system got their foot on our neck, but you marching with white women about a man? Like, white women was saying, hey, my man treat me like shit. My man think I shouldn't work. My man think I should make less money. And all this was true at the time. Black woman, what that got to do with you? You ain't got that kind of problem with us. Both of us is getting our ass kicked. You see? So knowingly or unknowingly, they took part in a system, Margaret Sanger and all these other racist white women who created Planned Parenthood and created this feminist movement. This shit negatively affected our whole community, and Black women were strongly a part of that movement. Even today, you got Black women who still say they feminists, which is an oxymoron and the weirdest shit ever, right? In come the 70s, early 70s, the welfare system, right, which attacked our community. And I try to be contextual and say, I don't come down on women without including love in that conversation when I talk about shit like that. But women, knowingly or unknowingly, participated in a system that helped destroy the Black family. right? When welfare was first instituted, one of the biggest attributes to that system was no man can be in the home. They would show up to your house, making sure there was no shoes under the dresser, no toothbrush, shaving cream, all this shit. So a lot of women begin to say, I don't need a man. I'd rather get this money. I don't want to deal with the headache of his shiftless ass, whoever he may be. I'm going to get this money and keep him away. And then, because that's in the 70s, right? And then they daughters did the same shit. And then they daughters did the same shit. So now we sitting at 70-something% of black kids are born to a single mom. And that shit ain't just happenstance. But what benefit would it be, right? Because I know all this history. I know everything, right? Not everything, but I know all this shit, right? What if I came on here and did a whole show about that? No solutions, no love. Just did a whole show about how women ain't shit. The welfare took them over, and then they need to fix their problem. Who would that actually help? Right? So when we look at Cynthia G and different black people that are on YouTube, family, be cautious of who you listen to. Listen to the motive. Watch the actions of a person. Like, watch them in a variety of different arenas so you can get a clear understanding of what their motive is. Because if you listen to a black person who don't mean us no good, if you listen to a black person who their ultimate goal is kind of to disband the black family or continue to speak negative about us, you're doing us a disservice, family. All the shit we talking about as far as being empowerment or being empowering, you're going against that by embracing black folks like that. You see what I'm saying? So Cynthia G and any other individual in our community who thinks this way, we need to ostracize them in a way that makes them ineffective. Like, I don't wish harm on nobody, but we can't have you in the mix if you don't give a fuck about us. That's the bottom line. You see what I'm saying? Because again, if you bring up a conversation that's one-sided and intellectually dishonest, to mention what she was saying about black men without mentioning the effects, knowingly or unknowingly, that a lot of black women have had on the system that we live in and how they've played a role in our demise, that's not honest. So I can't trust you. You see what I'm saying? So black folks, look, man, if we don't fix the issues that we have with each other, we can't play the blame game. We have to, because you can, two things can be true at the same time, right? I speak about the system and how it has disenfranchised us. It continually does it. But as a black man, you need to peep this out, become aware of how to maneuver around it, and do your best to avoid this system at all costs while understanding it, while fighting it, while being diligent to improve the situation of your people. You see what I'm saying? Both can be true, but putting your head in the sand and acting like racism in the system that we live in ain't the primary cause for our disenfranchisement. It's not honest. None of us is going to get nowhere by doing that. You see what I'm saying? So let's continue to have conversations about love, to disagree about things that may have happened, but if it's a love conversation, then it's going to come off a certain way. Just like you said, Blue Girl, the tone, the delivery, the intention, all that matters when we having these conversations. Because really, I salute the brother Umar. I salute the other brother Dewan that was on there. Hope. She said a couple things I didn't like, but she had some points that, even though I'm not as much in agreement, it was articulate, it was calm. I felt the genuine nature of it. You see what I'm saying? Everything Cynthia G said was nonsensical. All of it. All of it. And this scares me because she has a big platform. Look her up on YouTube. People fuck with her. See? So it's like when I look at people who have a big following, but they're disingenuous and I don't really trust their word, I'm like, damn, who following them though? Who's actually listening to this shit? You know what I mean? So this has been your brother Harrison, man. Brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Thank you for everybody who listening. Blue Girl, my brother Cochise, everybody watching, man. I love y'all. Do me a favor, like I said earlier, if you know somebody who will be a good fit for the show, somebody who has a great platform, somebody who has a great movement, somebody who is like an inspiring individual in your community, send me an email at melanatedconvopod. Have them DM me or send me an email there so we can work. I'm looking to add new guests to the show, but like I said earlier, somebody with experience though, like somebody who's been doing whatever their thing is for a while. You know what I mean? Because like I'm beginning to see that like the a person's motivation and their drive to do whatever they need to do, that radiates through their words, like that radiates through all their movements. So I want to have those kind of individuals on the show. Continue to rock with your boy, man. Please subscribe to the Melanated Convo on YouTube. Like, subscribe to this show. Follow me on Melanated Convo 100 is my Instagram page. I had 2 Instagram pages, like a personal one and then one I use just for all the stuff for the show, but somebody hacked it. After they hacked my Instagram page for a while, I tried like for a month to get it back. It was actually canceled. So Instagram just shut down that page. So now I just have the one page, which is Melanated Convo 100. Follow me on that page, family. Until next time, this is your brother Harrison. I'm out.